All right, guys. So I am actually working on some sewing. My phone's at 37%. I would plug it in if I could. So we're just gonna talk as long as we can until this dies. Where the hell did my oh, they're right here. So yeah, I'm just cutting out patterns and stuff, and I wanted to just rant about stuff. Just wanted to rant about stuff because I got some things on my mind, and yeah. So to give you guys an update about how things are going, so financially we're still scary. We are still in very scary, unsure territory. However, that being said, I do have a talk at the end of this month, and then I have another one in February. So, honestly, I know things are going to look up, and I know things are going to get better. I know that with my Patreon finally actually having incentives, I'm getting more Patreon patrons, and I've only posted 3 videos since I've been back. I don't feel like it's been enough. I feel like I should be posting more, even though for me, going from a year to of not posting videos to having a video every fucking week, to me that's progress, and that's consistency. But like I've talked about this, a lot of where I'm at right now is really sort of okay, let me put you guys in this work over here. All right. A lot of where I'm at right now, in terms of my YouTube channel, is really sort of based on whether or not the content that I post in the space of this month actually ends up doing well. And it's a weird position for me to be in because, to be transparent, I know we talked about this before, and some of you guys who have been my patrons for a really long time, you remember the videos, the private vlogs that I did when I was living with my ex and stuff, and a lot of the sort of frustration that came with that, because, I definitely, moving to the city of Orange, I definitely was able to have more creative control of my space, but it's also where my ex and I started to diverge a lot, and some of the slowing down in my YouTube channel was connected to me traveling more and me doing more speaking gigs and me sort of, having a lot of other things going on instead of just, YouTube. A lot of it too was in my last relationship, even though he didn't say it, even though it wasn't really expressed, there was sort of this vibe of, if I didn't work as much as I did, our relationship would be better. And so some of me slowing down was me trying to, it was me trying to, I wouldn't say appease him because that's not true, but it was me, just trying to make time for my partner. And now I'm in a situation where I live in my own big apartment in Los Angeles. I am, I have a lot of space to film. I've got, enough space to set up my lights and things. Oh my God, come on. I got enough space to set up my lights and things. Like, I'm in a really optimal position to create right now. But when I moved out here, it was really rough for me to create, and so I took a good year off collecting myself, finding sort of my space in Los Angeles, and I finally started to do that. I finally started to have, a chosen family, a tribe or whatever, and so that just makes me feel so much more you know, balanced and, you know, centered and everything. And so now I'm able to create work that I'm really fucking proud of, you know. But taking a year off and, you know, taking all this time for myself has really impacted me in a negative way, because people in a lot of ways sort of started to forget about me, right? And so I've already talked about this, but, you know, another one of the reasons why I took some time is because I really wanted to make a lot of content and then be able to put out something every week. So I took that break. I was very smart about it. I was like, this is what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna do it, you know? And I think that was a good decision, but you know, it's rough right now, because I've talked about this before, but one of the big things that I came away from taking some time away and actually, like, you know, because I was living in Orange County, I had no social life, you know. My partner was the only person I talked to, and he barely talked to me. So I had a lot of time to sit on the internet and be upset about shit, you know, shit that, like, I look at now and I'm like, that girl, why did you make all this content about this stupid shit that doesn't matter, you know? Like, my content now is way more accurate to myself, to my true self, than it's ever been before. I'm so fucking excited about what I'm making. And I feel like my channel and everything I'm doing is better. The quality is better. The content's better, is more useful. You know, like, I just feel really fucking good about shit, right? But, you know, I'm having this, like, a bit of a frustration. And a lot of the frustration kind of comes from, you know, to be fair, we've only uploaded 3 videos, okay? We've uploaded 3 videos. 2 of them have been interviews. 1 of them has been an educational 1, 2, 3 ABC video. And there's a lot that I could talk about with that video, because, in fact, let's just talk about it now. We won't come back to it later. Let's just talk about it now, right? So, you know, one of the things that I've become super aware of now, and I see it more clearly now than I did before, is that there's a certain type of commodification of feminism. There's a certain type of commodification of social justice that basically has taken something that in a lot of ways was started by, organized through, put together by Black women, and erased them completely, and then repackaged it in, like, this adorable, cutesy, feel-good package with a white face, right? And I'm gonna be super transparent in this video and tell you that, you know, a lot of that impacted the way that I understood a lot of these things, you know. So, intersectionality, right? That is a term that I started hearing in the context of trans issues, of LGBT issues, you know, of maybe acknowledging that people experience racism and transphobia and things like that. But I never really looked it up. I never really researched it, right? And upon researching it, it blew my mind, because Kimberly Crenshaw's work is incredibly fucking accessible. You know, intersectionality was coined in the 90s. There is a PDF where you can, that was published when she wrote this, where you can read her whole perspective and how she came to the conclusions of defining intersectionality, right? It's incredibly fucking accessible, right? But what's more accessible than her work, well, you know, I won't say more accessible. What you're more likely to hear, you know, when referencing intersectionality, you know, completely omits her. Completely fucking omits her, right? And you know, looking through that and then understanding that, like, I initially came into my understanding of intersectionality not through her, not through the work of a Black woman. It made me really think a lot. It made me think a lot. And, you know, I talked about this before, but, you know, so I always have this very unique experience with people, right? And it's something that actually really fucking frustrates me, and maybe it shouldn't, but it genuinely does. Now you guys know I've been in a lot of, you know, not boardrooms. I've been in a lot of meetings and things. I've been to Google a bunch of times, you know. I've sat in the middle of a presentation organically and then seen my fucking face being presented by Susan when she gives her talks about, you know, how amazing YouTube is, how amazing Google is, and how it's great that they're giving people a platform for blah, 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 right? I've been in so many fucking conversations with people where they come up to me and they say, oh my God, like people who have money, people who have resources, come to me and they say, Kat, oh my God, I love your stuff. It's so amazing. It's changed my life. It's changed my perspectives. I see things so much better because of you. You know, you've helped me understand this. You've helped me understand that. If I didn't have your stuff, I don't know how I would, all of that, right? All of that. And I'm always like taken aback because these are often people who, with a snap of their finger, could change my fucking life, right? Could change my fucking life. But when the shit hits the fan, when I'm struggling, when I'm not doing well, they're never there. You know, they don't offer me things. They're not trying to get me into stuff. They're not saying, hey, we've got this grant. We really want you to, you know, we really think it's a good idea for you to do this. They're never there. You know, and I've always had this really weird feeling about my content, about YouTube and stuff, because a lot of you guys know I started YouTube from a space of being a teenager who wanted to just talk about stuff, you know, my day and things online. It did not, what my platform is now is not what my platform has always been. My platform had not always been about education. Now it shifted towards that because I recognize that I have this impulse to inform. I have this impulse to educate. I do it a lot. It tends to be really exhausting and I hate repeating myself. That is a big cornerstone of my personality. I hate repeating myself. And so, you know, I started changing what I was doing. I started going in a different direction. And I did that out of a genuine desire to help other people, right? But also, at the end of the day, this is a fucking business, right? I can't pretend that, you know, as this becomes a thing that pays my bills, I can't pretend that, as this has become a thing that pays my bills, I can't pretend that, you know, I don't need, in quotations, to do certain things in order to fucking make it, right? And, you know, coming back with, you know, a new perspective, because looking at some of my work, right, you know, specifically, like right now I'm working on a video about Black History Month, right? I'm working on, you know, it's basically why do we have Black history and why don't we have white history? But it's really a focus on why Black History Month exists, with the expression of basically like the through line of it is we have Black History Month because people organized and worked for us to have Black History Month, right? We also have several other heritage months that people could flesh out if they want to, but they don't, right? We only have Black History Month through the hard work of Black historians and scholars who said, you know what, we want this to be a thing. And so they went out and they made it a thing, right? And so instead of all these people complaining about why they don't have stuff, they could be spending all their energy, you know, and putting it into actually creating stuff, you know, that will, you know, get them the sort of, you know what I mean? Like, don't complain about Black History Month when you're not willing to put together curriculum to do your fucking Heritage Week, you know? That's part of it, right? And all you know, the races and you know, and groups that have that have done just that, have actually gone, organized, and worked towards having these heritage months recognized by the government, right? So anyway, that's kind of what we're talking about, right? But the first time I did that, it was part of this series that, you know, yes, had a lot of really good information in it, but maybe the way I presented it was a little bit more divisive than it needed to be. You know what I mean? Because I was like, well, let's do White History Month. And then I did this series about, you know, the historical construction of whiteness, and then, you know, white supremacy, and then what white has meant, and then what Caucasian means, and I did all this stuff about different people who went to court to argue, you know, about, you know, whether or not they were white, or, you know what I mean? I did all of this really good work, but I framed it in sort of a petty, almost sort of, I don't want to say bitter, but almost a bitter sort of way. And I think that sabotaged a lot of my work, right? You know, but at the same time, you know, at the same time, I, you know, I know that I see, I have a thing where, you guys have to understand, I've been doing this for 13 years, okay? And I never wanted to be famous. I never wanted to be known. And so when it comes to sometimes these conversations where I bitch and moan about not enough people knowing me or supporting me or whatever, some of that's my fault, and I know that, because I deliberately worked so that people would not know who I am, right? And I'm very aware of that, and I totally get that, and, you know, I blame myself for a lot of that, right? One of the things I'm sort of dealing with right now is there are a lot of people who know who I am, but who they know me to be is a complete misrepresentation of who I am. You know, and I've always had this thing, and this is something that existed in my personality before YouTube. You know, feel free to come for me, feel free to criticize me, feel free to tell me about myself, but make sure you actually know what you're talking about and it's actually about me. So like, you know, so for example, I was talking to this guy. I'm still talking to this guy, right? We're talking on OkCupid. We have a date on Sunday. And I just linked into my YouTube channel. I used to not do that because, you know, I was really sort of afraid of people, you know, being messy or whatever. And he, you know, instantly remembered that, you know, I had been a person who some of his teachers had used in their classroom to, like, educate them about certain things, right? Instantly, you know, recognized me from there. Didn't initially recognize me at first. I mean, I've lost a lot of weight, so that's probably why. But, you know, he had sort of recognized me. And so one of the things he said, you know, because I forget exactly what happened, but I basically told him to Google me because, you know, a lot of information about me is pretty fucking accessible, right? And, you know, one of the first things he said to me was like, well, apparently a lot of people think you're racist. Right. And, you know, here's the thing. In a very big way, in a very big, massive way, I do not give a fuck about those people who make all those videos. I can't be bothered. You guys have to understand, I've been doing this since I was 15, you know. One of my early memories on YouTube was, you know, this guy making a whole channel, you know, attacking me. Right, he made this whole channel where he basically took my picture and like put Ninja Turtles over it, because he used to call me a Ninja Turtle all the time, and like zoomed in on my nose and drew like a little Ninja Turtle. You know, and that was when I was 15, and that really fucked with me, guys. Really fucked with me. Okay. You know, but you get over shit, right? And so in a very large way, I don't give a fuck about that stuff, right? But it does start to let me give a fuck, because there are so many people who have made videos about me that basically say, well, you're a fucking racist, you hate white people, you want to enslave all the whites. So many of those people, right, that what's actually true about me, what actually is happening, and who I actually am does not matter, right? And because of that, I know there are a lot of people who would love to endorse me publicly, but can't because of some lie that some white person told about me. And that's what's really fucking frustrating, because if I was someone who was super anti-white, if I was someone who had ever argued for the extermination of all men, or, you know, the cleansing of the cisgendered population, or the enslavement of all white people, I would understand that, but I haven't. I've never done that. That's never been something that I've actually done or said or even suggested. It's an extrapolation that someone took to make a bombastic, video about me, where now all people can associate me with is being this anti-white, hateful black bitch. Right? And you know what? It's really fucking frustrating to me, because I spend so much time and so much energy researching and putting these videos together. And I know these videos are useful in schools and for teachers and this and that. And I do all that work, and then I still have people who are afraid to associate with me because, well, she's that anti-white girl that people, And it's aggravating, because I'm totally okay with being held accountable for things I do. I'm totally okay with being held accountable for the things I say. But to be sort of ousted because of things I never even said is really rough. And again, this has been an issue that I've had. Not an issue. I'm not going to act like this is a thing that's been happening to me all my life. It's not true. But I've always it's fine. You don't like me. You don't want to fuck with me. Fine. But actually do it for real reasons. Actually feel that way for real fucking reasons. And, it makes me really upset, because in a lot of ways I feel like these people have won. These people and, their ability to define me to other people, they've won. So even if I'm making good work, even if I'm making work that could help, even if I can make work that's educational, and can help you grow, right? It's just, it doesn't fucking matter, right? And that gets to me a lot. It really does, because and maybe I have been divisive in the past. Maybe I have, right? Because for me, I'll admit that there was a time where, I sort of threw my hands up. And if you guys have been in my broadcasts and things, you already know this, but there have been times where I sort of threw my hands up and said, you know what, they're not gonna look at what I'm saying anyway. Like, one of the big sort of moments where this happened was, I made this video about, I made two videos. I made one video about Blue Lives Matter, and I made one video about whether or not the Second Amendment is racist. Now, both of those videos have a shitload of research, have a shitload of, lots of due diligence and things like that. I put a lot of time and energy into it, right? But I titled my Blue Lives Matter video, Do Blue Lives Matter? And my Second Amendment video, I said, is the Second Amendment racist, right? Now, as I'm saying this, there's a part of me that's like, am I overthinking this? Am I sort of, because here's the thing. So with my video about Blue Lives Matter, right? That video ended up getting, it ended up on the front page of YouTube for a bit. And it got a lot of comments. It got a lot of very negative comments, right? And so I got a shitload of negative comments. And, I sort of, and a lot of the comments were like, oh, this racist bitch, this racist did this and this and that. And, and mind you, so basically what I'm saying is I got a lot of comments that were calling me a fucking racist and a this and a that, to the point where I thought, well, maybe I did make a video that was kind of racist. Well, maybe I did make a video that was kind of fucked up, right? Maybe I did do that, right? And then I watched the video back, and it's a great fucking video. Not only is it a great video, but I was super polite. I was super patient. I made a lot of room for the police. I made a lot of room for, a lot of stuff, right? And so, but I had all these comments that made me feel like, well, maybe I did do something wrong here. Maybe I did say something wrong here. Maybe I was being super divisive. And I wasn't. All I was doing this very fact-based educational video about, the history of the Second Amendment and how, California had banned, sorry, I'm like trying to line these up and focus. How California had banned the Second Amendment, open carrying because of the Black Panthers. Like, I did all of this shit. And I felt like I was gaslit to the point of being like, oh, well, maybe I did do something racist here. And I know that's what they want for me to do. They want for me to, question myself to that point. But, all of my hard work was drowned out by these people just screaming that I was a racist who hated white people, right? And I don't hate white people. I genuinely don't. I don't hate anyone, right? I barely hate fascists. I should hate fascists. But there's a lot of people who are super fascist who I still leave a lot of space for. And that's me as a person. But maybe the way I was doing my work wasn't really communicating that, And that's a thing, right? And I talked about this on Twitter because this is something that really bothers me, right? And this is a realization I've kind of had recently, right? As I move to LA and as I actually meet more people who identify as, anarchists and leftists of different shades and things like that, I've realized that my politics are not that extreme. I don't have extreme politics by any fucking, by any means, right? My politics are so at their core, let's all get along, let's kumbaya, things don't always have to be so negative. That's kind of the soul and the heart of my political beliefs, is that I think ultimately, and that's the soul behind a lot of my work, is I think ultimately we need to be working together towards a happier future where we can all fucking make this happen. You know what I mean? That's the way that I look at stuff, right? But by virtue of me being a Black trans, but by virtue of me being a Black trans woman, I'm seen as radical. And that's some shit that will always get under my nails. And you know what? Here's one of the reasons why I feel that way is because, and I want to, before I say this, I want to say that this isn't like jealousy, and this isn't me being, I love everyone, right? Like, a lot of people who are in my vertical, who are doing what I do, they make great work that I have a lot of fucking respect for. They work incredibly fucking hard, right? And I support their shit. I really fucking do. I really do. And so none of that is, and I know they support me too. So it's not at all, so hopefully this doesn't sound at all like shade or anything, right? But I can't help but notice that when it comes to, first of all, name a trans person in this vertical that's not Riley J. Dennis. Right? Who despite how people feel about her, despite what people say about her appearance, despite how everyone, she's still a very, maybe not in a lot of, I know Riley, I've met Riley, we've gone out to parties and things with each other, like, she's really fucking cool. She also is a fairly typical looking woman, right? She's also very white, right? And, and I want to make this clear. When it comes to this sort of shit, I don't blame the creators for feeling that way. Or being that way, rather. That's not what this is about. But it's more like under white supremacy, in a white supremacist system, this is just how shit kind of is. Where because of the way people think about shit, they're going to click on the video of a white person speaking than more fast than they're going to click on a video of a Black person, and And you know, whenever I talk about this shit, people are like, well, what about KSI and all these other people and this and that? A lot of these people who are black, right, but are very well known are people who are, you know, I don't even know how to frame this and without sounding really shitty and shady, but like, all right, well, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it because it's on my mind, and I'm just gonna put it out there like that, okay? A lot of black people who are black and are well known and very famous are also not people who like to shake the table when it comes to talking about racism. They're not. They're not going to sit there and talk about, you know what, Logan Paul makes trash content. I've been working incredibly hard on my shit. It's helpful, it's inspiring, it's uplifting. But Logan Paul, you know, can fucking go into a desert, not desert, a forest, capture a dead, not capture, you know, capture footage of a dead person and still be seen as, you know, a top and still have our YouTube Red series, you know, like, they're not going to say that. In fact, they're not only are they not going to say that, but they're going to work with him, right? There's a cost that comes with being a person who stands up against the status quo. And I'm very aware of that. And you know, while I am saying this, I'll come back to this later maybe, but like my perspective on this is so complicated and so complex because on one hand, the focus of who I want to see my work is like educators and teachers and people who are curious about stuff. And I know that that's not ultimately a popular vertical. I know that. I'm super aware. My work is very straightforward. My work is very, here are the facts, and then also maybe here's my opinion. It's not escapism. It's not fantasy. It's not fanciful, or maybe even exciting. It's here's the facts, here's my opinion, here's humanizing. I know that's very boring to some people, right? So on one hand, while I am sort of saying, all right, it sucks that I'm not more well known and da-da-da-da-da, I'm also saying I'm very aware of, you know, what my shit is. Let me just look at this real quick to make sure this is lined up correctly and everything before I go over to the sewing machine. I actually can't tell because I feel like it's not, but why isn't it? Okay, well then if we, yeah, I guess that's, oh no, I think this one's backwards. Okay, I'm glad that we took that. Or is it backwards? I can't tell what the right side of this fabric is. Yeah, but I think this one's backwards, so we're gonna have to flip that around. Or will we? Yeah, we will. Okay, that's what was wrong. Sorry. I'm pinning fabric together. I just cut out patterns. Y'all are seeing me do a whole fucking sewing thing on here. I've been making these panties because I'm poor and I need new underwear that actually fits me, and these, oh my god, these fit me so well and I'm really proud of myself. But anyway, where the fuck was I? Like, so the black people who are really well known are not the people who are gonna do anything close to what I did, you know. And I saw this, and you know, Miles is kind of doing this more now, but like Miles J, who is a personal friend of mine who I love to bits, was someone who for a while, you know, really wasn't about talking about black shit. It wasn't really about talking about racism. And the moment that he started, you know, he started to lose a lot of support. He started to lose a lot of people who were like, oh, wow, you're so... Because part of being well known, you know, I personally think, you know, unless you're on the right, frankly, part of being well known on YouTube, you know, is being completely apolitical, right? You don't get into politics. I don't really do politics. Like, you know, that's part of being successful on YouTube, right? So you're not going to see these big YouTubers getting super political or even expressing that they have any sort of political understanding of any of this shit, because it's not, you know, they don't want to alienate their, you know, subscriber base, you know. A lot of these people are not going to come out and openly speak against Trump. They're not. And if they do, they're going to have sizable portions of their audience, you know, walk away from them because, you know, they don't follow them to hear them talk about politics. They follow them so they can, you know, have these silly discussions about, you know, bullshit, right? You know, and so I know and I'm very aware that, you know, my channel will never be as successful as some other people's channels, right? And I'm not saying that I can't improve my shit and that I can't, do stuff better. But, what I am saying is that I can't help but notice that the people who do what I do, who are well known and are successful and do, get a lot of coverage, are white. And again, I love their stuff. I'm not going to mention names here because I think, everyone's great and I do really love their shit. And I do mean that like very genuinely. I also just can't help but notice that I've been at it longer, and I want to say this too, like ultimately at the end of the day, everyone who's making work that contributes to, progressiveness and contributes to us becoming a better society, I'm fucking for it. And I've always sort of had this perspective that, different approaches are going to, people are going to not everyone's going to connect with every approach, right? So my approach for me is very straightforward. My approach for me is very like direct, and here we are, and da-da-da-da. Other people have, more interesting, more entertaining approaches, and I think that that's hella valid, and hopefully nothing I'm saying is gonna come off like I don't, because it's not how I feel, right? More of what I'm saying is going back to intersectionality and Kimberly Crenshaw. You've got these people who have these ideas, and they're very clearly stated, and they're very clearly defined, and then the idea gets so large and it gets so lost that they no longer are even known as being a person who created it. I know that I was one of the first people to make content like what I'm making on YouTube. I know there were other people who came before me. I know. But I'm very aware that I was one of the first. Very aware of it and very proud of it, right? And it sometimes sucks being forgotten to that degree, and then people only remembering you in the context of, oh my God, aren't you the person who said that Black people have superior genetics to white people? Something I've never said, but something that was said about me that now gets treated as though it's factual, that now gets treated as though it's truthful. And, I'm not going to say that the people that I follow, here's the thing, when I specifically referring to some of the white people that I'm kind of talking about in this video, they also deal with being misrepresented. They also deal with people saying that, people saying things about them that are not true, right? What frustrates me though is that they are not, like I've been following a lot of people for a long time, and and they're, what they generally are criticized about is their ideas, right? People generally criticize their ideas, right? They don't usually do what they do with me, which is upon just looking at me, upon just looking at where they think I lie politically, they make these decisions about who I am, and that's always, she's racist, she hates white people, she wants to kill all cis people, like, this shit that just I've never said, or never even suggested, right? When I look at the criticism some of my colleagues get who are white, it's almost always about their fucking ideas. And the reason why this stuff frustrates me is I've been documenting my ideas for 13 years. 13 years. So it's not like my stuff isn't accessible. It's not like there's no way of knowing how I actually feel. What happens more often than not is someone just makes a fucking video and says, oh, she feels this way, without really any true reason to say that, and that's the truth. And now people stop watching my shit, or people unsubscribe from me, or people, and it drives me crazy, because if it was something I actually believed in, if it was something that I actually felt, I would 100% get it. But because it's not, it's hard for me to listen to. It's hard for me to observe because I feel like I'm being held accountable for shit that just is not real. And you know what's so interesting? Like, I made a video, like when I kind of first came back to YouTube, I made that video about like what my real politics are, because I do get it. In some ways I've been sort of vague about my politics, right? I do get that. And there were some people who watched the video with an open mind. You know, some people who I'm sure kind of rushed in expecting me to be some sort of, you know, this is going to be my red pilling video. And they watched the video and they're like, oh wow, fuck, actually I agree with you a lot. I'm really glad that I heard you out. And that's what's really fucking frustrating to me, is the fact that so many people probably do agree with me, probably do see my perspective, probably do know, you know, we probably do have this, we probably are on the same, you know, political lines, right? Like, I wouldn't call myself a centrist, but I'm definitely someone who likes to, like, you know, like, let's think about practical ways of actually addressing this, as opposed to, you know, let's just keep saying fuck you and fuck you, right? Like, it's frustrating to me because you could have just watched the original video and you would have known that. You could have watched any of my videos. Because a lot of the thing that happens in my videos is I will do this thing where I've got sort of my, so, you know, because a lot of times when I go into doing a video, I do sort of go in being like, you know what, I like this conclusion, I like this idea, I like this through line, right? Then I research, and sometimes my through line is not correct, and I have to adjust accordingly, right? So I might acknowledge that maybe I had this one perspective, but then that was corrected. Maybe my perspective wasn't totally off. But here, you know, I have this thing where I'm of two minds of a lot of things. And if you watch my videos, you know that about me. You know that very rarely am I like definitively, this is true, that is that, da 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 da. The only real thing I say that about is like, you know, systemic racism. I think it's foolish to argue that against, you know, the political disparities between, you know, racial groups because of racism and because of this, you know, segregation. I think it's very, 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 very silly to, you know, act like there isn't some sort of, you know, difference, or that there hasn't been, you know, a difference in the, you know what I mean? I think it's very, very silly to do that, right? Stop, I'm awake already. Ooh, and we're at 7%, so we gotta wrap this up quick. But yeah, like, but a lot of other shit I'm open to learning, which is why I've kind of rebranded my channel to Learning, Sharing, and Growing, because that's a little bit more of the accurate way of, A, how I want my channel to be, but also the way that I feel. You're like, bitch, girl, there's a lot of shit I don't fucking know. There's a lot of stuff I don't understand. So much. And it's always been within my nature to want information. I love learning. I would go back to school if it was affordable, right? I love to learn. And I'm always open to changing my mind, always. And I've never not communicated that. Never. But the way that people would have you believe I feel is that I'm just some fucking, you know, some dogmatic, I'm gonna tell you how you fucking are sort of person. It's not fucking me. You know, I know that there have been times in the past where I have come off that way, and I'm not even gonna say that, ooh, let's get the right settings first. I'm not even gonna say that, you know, there hasn't been a reason for people to necessarily see me that way in some, you know, conversations, but that's definitely not who I am now. And it hasn't been who I am ever, but, you know, whatever. But basically what I'm trying to say is, I'm not this person who doesn't feel like their shit stinks, you know, like, I change my mind constantly. I believe that I will die thirsting for information, trying to teach myself something new. That's how I want to be. That's how I want my audience to be. I want for people to actually be really excited. I don't want people to feel alienated by their ignorance. I want them to be inspired to learn because of their ignorance. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I come from. And so it is a little frustrating for me to have to deal with people who very dogmatically, feel that I am this one way, and I'm only going to be this way, and you made a video about white privilege 3 years ago, and therefore blah 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 blah. It's aggravating. It's very, very aggravating to me because and to be fair, I know that there is a way in which I can come off. When you're doing very definitive, here's what it is sort of videos, people can feel like you're not someone who, it's very easy to look at that and be like, oh, she's definitely not open to alternative perspectives and things. It's very easy to feel that way, right? So I do get that, especially when I started scripting my videos, because now, I went from being someone who was kind of accessible and kind of, easy to sort of understand or whatever, to like someone who basically was like, well, here I am speaking confidently to the camera, saying things and being like, well, that's just how that is. I get it. It was a shift, right? But, I'm very clearly communicating that's not how I am, at least now. So I just wish people would recognize it, I don't feel like a lot of my white colleagues go through thinking about shit like this the way that I am. I really don't. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm totally wrong. I could be totally wrong about this. But I don't, like, from my observation, they all deal with a myriad of shit. They all deal with a myriad of crap. They all deal with a lot of people, coming at them for shit that isn't real, and trolling and things, which, I also understand that because I've been doing this for so long, I think I have a very different reaction to trolling and harassment than most people do. I kind of look at it and I'm like, all right, whatever. And other people respond very intensely, and I think that that's valid as fuck. But I guess what I'm saying is, my colleagues are not dealing with what I deal with, where you're instantly upon just looking at, like, most of my colleagues are white men, right? White men are seen as the standard. They know everything. If he says something, it's probably true. Look at Jordan fucking Peterson. Jordan Peterson is a fucking idiot. Ben Shapiro, fucking idiot. But because they can say something confidently, because they can say something smoothly, people believe them, people follow them, and it blows my fucking mind. It blows my fucking mind. Because when I do that, when I say something with confidence, when I say, oh, she, clearly doesn't know what she's talking about, people are more eager to doubt me. People are more eager to dismiss me than they are to listen to me. And that's made so obvious by the fact that so many people latch onto these lies about who I am as a person. It's made so obvious by that because, if again, if you wanted to debate with me about, if you wanted to debate with me about the, about my view of systemic racism, fine. You're talking about some shit that I actually believe in. But when you want it, like, a lot of times people try to debate me, it's always about some shit I never said or did. Always. It's almost never about actually something I feel. Like, people who like to have that, is it transphobic to not sleep with a trans person conversation? I think no. I don't think it's trans. I said that so many times, but there's full videos out there talking about how I'm trying to force people to sleep with trans people. And it's ridiculous because, again, it has nothing to do with how I feel. And if it did, I would understand it better. I would be able to actually respond. I would actually have something productive. But one person gets to say, Kat believes that if cis men don't fuck trans women, that they're fucking bigots. And that becomes the truth. And that's really aggravating to me because I feel like what I actually say and how I actually feel does not matter. And that is very, very, very disheartening. It's incredibly disheartening because I would like to believe that people base their shit on actual things, but they don't. They base them on whatever gets the most clicks. And you know what? It's way more interesting for somebody to make a really shitty video about me talking about how I believe all people who don't sleep with trans people are bigots than it is to be like, you know what, Kat believes, to actually go through and like politely dissect something that I say. Like, that's not as, in the same way that me doing a very straightforward, here are the facts video is not going to be as interesting to most people. An actual dissection of my perspective is not going to be as well received, and that is incredibly frustrating to me. It really is, because I'm open to criticism. I'm open to people saying, oh, I disagree with you here and here and here's why. I am. Unfortunately, most people don't fucking do that. Unfortunately, most people do not have any desire to, faithfully critique anything I do. Oh my God, did I do this wrong? Oh no, it's right. It's fine. Sorry. Sewing is very confusing. But yeah, so anyway, I just wanted to talk about that because it's been really rough for me, because like sometimes I watch the content of people and they're saying the same shit I'm saying. It's different. The presentation's different, but they're saying the same shit I'm saying. But they don't get nearly the amount of vitriol. They don't get nearly the amount of vitriol. People say my name and then attack. Like I've met people. I've been out at clubs and then people are like, oh, you're Kat Blaque, and then had them kind of be like, ugh, kind of thing. And it's so weird because I'm an incredibly open person. I'm an incredibly patient person. It takes a lot to fucking offend me. That's one of the things that comes from being online for so long is, you really got to try to offend me genuinely. It's not the easiest thing to do. And I think some people don't get that. They think that, because I do what I do, I'm just, and I'm always criticizing offensive things or, talking about, why things are hurtful, that like I'm super offended. It takes a lot to fucking offend me, But of course, because I'm framed by other people as like this easily offended person who just gives a fuck about everything, it's really rough. Like, it's hard for me too, because like, for example, and I'm gonna say a name because I love this person dearly, and I know they just became a Patreon of mine. Hi. I've had so many people come up to me and be like, oh, I know of you through ContraPoints, right? And I'm incredibly happy about that because I love Contra. I mean, I love Natalie rather. I love her. She's great. And there's a very obvious reason why some people grab, like my content's very straightforward. Hers is very fanciful, and she puts a lot of time and effort into the presentation of it, and it's eccentric, and it's and I think that's awesome. It does sometimes suck to hear that that someone only knew about you through a white woman. It's kind of rough because my work should be able, and here's the thing too. It's usually not that they're familiar with my work. They've mostly just seen me on Twitter. That's been a very common thing is, oh, I follow you on Twitter, or I found you through Contra on Twitter. And I fucking love that. Again, that's totally cool. But I also have been for the past 13 years working on all of this fucking content, and it's just. And then I talk to them. They're like, "Well, I don't really watch videos, but clearly you do. You watch her videos, But it's whatever, Like I'm not. And that's again not anything against Contra at all, because again, I love Natalie. I love her stuff, right? It just sucks sometimes that that's the entry level. That my work is only validated if a white person points at it. My work is both validated and invalidated based on what a white person says. And that fucking sucks. It really fucking does, because it should be able to stand on its own. My work should be able to stand on its own without, and here's the thing. I watch my videos back and I'm like, bitch, because like I said, sometimes the way people make me feel about my shit is like, oh, I'm just doing a terrible job. I make really good work, okay? I make really great work, and I know that. And it does sometimes get to me that, you know, the only way people know about my work, again, is if a white person points at it. You know, for good or for worse. You know, it would be nice if my shit could stand on its own. And I think it does, but people, you know, I believe through their own bias, because there's a reason why someone would click on a video of me talking about white supremacy and then conclude that I hate all white people. And that's not because of anything I said, that's not because of anything I did, that's not even because of my presentation. It's because I'm a black woman who's not pretending that everything's okay. You know? And it sucks being demonized for that. It sucks having to sit through people, you know, basically act like you're just being a terrible person because you had the audacity to say, hey, guess what? White supremacy sucks. Which, by the way, is what all, because here's what gets me. There are people who are like, well, I really like ContraPoints, but I don't, you know, Cat Blaque, she's just so pushy. We believe essentially the same shit. That's what gets me. We believe the same stuff. I can't think of a Contra video that she's done that I disagree with. Truly. We agree about the same things. We're both trans. I'm just black, you know? And it's weird because, you know, it is what it is. Again, and this isn't jealousy or anything close to that. I love her stuff. But it's weird how people will sort of do this thing where, oh, I love her, but, you know, Cat Blaque, she's just so... And we have the same perspective. I mean, not the exact same perspective, but you know what I mean. Like, I obviously will talk a lot more about racism, but so does she. And she does these really, really good, you know, the times that she has talked about racism seem really, really good. And I don't want, you know, it's so weird because I'm thinking about this a lot. You know, I have this conversation and, you know, I'm critical, not really critical, but I point out, you know, how white creators will be, they're more likely to be listened to than I am, right? But isn't this what we've been telling people to do if they're allies, is to speak out? So I'm glad that they are. I'm really, really glad that they are. I just wish that sometimes, you know, as a person who lives through racism, as a person who actually experiences it, as a person who actually experiences transphobia, as a person who actually experiences sexism and things like that, that people could just listen to what I'm saying, you know? Like, because I know, I live it, you know? I don't need for my, and going back to intersectionality, going back to that whole thing, intersectionality at its core was created because the perspectives of white women and the perspectives of black men, two privileged groups, were being prioritized over the perspectives of black women, right? That's why. That's literally why it exists. It exists because people had come together and said that, you know, black women's experiences can only be valid if they're compared to a white woman or a black man. You know? And that's a problem. That is a problem. That is a huge fucking problem. You know? And so, in a lot of ways, I understand that this is how things are, and this is the, you know, the way the cookie crumbles. I wish it wasn't, but it is. You know, but yeah, I'm just frustrated because, you know, like my video that I did, my intersectionality video that I uploaded a week ago has under 6,000 views. And it's a good video. The interview that I did with the gay black Christian, you know, the gay black Christian has 2,000 views. And this is work I'm very proud about, and this is work that's actually helpful. You know, takedowns of intersectionality, criticisms of intersectionality are far more successful and far more well-known than a straight-up video that's like, here's what intersectionality is. And that's the thing, going back to my whole being criticized about shit that's not true about me, one of the things that was really interesting to me as I was researching intersectionality and then looking at criticisms of intersectionality, is that it's clear that most people who criticize intersectionality are not familiar with Kimberly Crenshaw, and they're not familiar with, demarginalizing, the intersections of being Black, and they're not familiar with her work. They don't even know why it was created. They don't even know that Black women were the focus. They don't even know this shit. They don't even know. But they're eager to criticize it because intersectionality has become a popular buzzword. It's become a thing that a lot of people, want to put out there and have attached to their work and say, well, I'm an intersectional this and this and that. But they don't put the time in to actually look at the start of it, And that's aggravating because I know that we are both experiencing that because we're Black ass women. I remember posting about this on Twitter, and people were like, well, why does her work have to be, people were basically arguing about whether or not her work was valid, right? People who will argue about scholarly this and scholarly that. Kimberly Crenshaw is a fucking law professor. The, the article where intersectionality was coined is an academic paper. All right, it's not people just pulling shit out of their ass. This is academically backed up, and it's scholarly research. It's like, so so there's people who will be like, well, when it's about the shit that I agree with, about the shit that I co-sign, yeah, whether or not it's academic or scholarly matters. But then you point at intersectionality, you're like, oh well, I don't really know. And the work is delegitimized because she is a Black woman writing about Black women, which is so ironic when you really think about it. It's just this circle of, we create this thing because Black women are being seen as invalid while we invalidate the work of the Black woman. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's too ironic, right? It's way too fucking ironic, right? And so, yeah. I know a lot of my frustration right now is coming from, I'm in a really scary place, guys. Like, I know I'll be fine. I have this gig coming up at UCR at the end of the month. I'm going to get my Patreon money coming through. Probably a little, like $100 from AdSense or whatever. Like, I know ultimately I'm going to be okay. I know I'm going to be fine, right? So I'm not that worried about it. It's more like, it's just scary right now. And it's hard for me to not feel so nervous about everything. I'm still holding on to the idea that my work is going to be successful because I'm proud of it, guys. Like, I've never been more proud of my shit than now. Never. I've never been more proud of my shit until this exact moment in my life, right? I'm telling everyone that I'm a YouTuber, right? I'm telling everyone, which, maybe I'll do a whole video about that at some point, but that's been a journey for me to just acknowledge that I do YouTube, because for a really long time, I did not do that. But anyway, I'm proud of my stuff, and I know this stuff is probably going to pan out, but things are just so unsure right now, and so I don't really know. I have really no way of knowing, what things are going to be. Now, I will say that my interview with a transracial person, the fact that video is at 14,000 views, thank you. I'm so happy with that. I just wish that people supported my shit more. And you know what? Maybe that's my fault. I should be telling people to share my stuff and to like my stuff and to make sure you subscribe. I should be telling them this, but I'm not. And maybe that's my fault. Maybe that's my fucking fault. But, I wish people just did it anyway, I don't know why people are so uncomfortable or ashamed when it comes to acknowledging that they support my work. I don't get it. That's some shit that really gets me. If my work has inspired you, if my work has helped you see something differently, if my work has helped you understand something, why wouldn't you just share it? I do that all the time when I see shit that's helpful. I feel silly about how don't forget to like there all I want. But maybe that's what I have to do if I want people to see my shit. I don't really know. Anyway, I'm gonna keep sewing this together. Again, I'm making panties because I'm fucking broke. And I can't afford to buy new underwear. I've lost 40 pounds, which is great, cool, happy about it. But this is my reality, is that my clothes don't fucking fit, so I'm making my own, okay? Because I can't afford to buy new ones. That's where I'm at. And, I'll talk about this in another video, maybe, but, like, being in this space is also very inspiring and awesome to me. It's so interesting? I have slapped back to who I wanted to be before my last relationship. Growing up, I used to sew all the time, and I sewed because I was poor. I wasn't poor. Poor is a stretch. I was raised upper middle class, but my family did not financially support me. So, like, I had a better foundation than most people. However, my family wasn't always there for me in the way that they could have been, and so I sewed. There was a time where I used to make all of my own clothes. And I'm slapping back into that. I'm also eating healthier because I'm poor and I can't afford to eat out all the time. And so there's been a lot of like improvements, and I actually have in this moment of struggle, in this moment of financial distress, I actually have been feeling a lot more like myself. And I know that once I start getting these gigs and I start getting, paid and things like that, I know that that's only going to get better and better and better and better and better and better and better. Right. I know that. So anyway, hopefully this right here, me, being where I am, hopefully this is just a snapshot of life and not where I will end up. I don't think this is where things will end. Part of the fear, concern, whatever that's going on in my head is that maybe I've already hit my peak, like maybe when I was doing 3 college speaking, engagements a week sort of thing, maybe that was my peak. Maybe it'll never be better than that. But what's frustrating is I know I'm making better content now. I know I'm doing better content now. I know I'm doing things that are way, way, way better than things I've ever done. And and my Patreons, if you're a $1 Patreon, you haven't really seen my stuff. But if you're a $5 and up patron, you have definitely fucking seen the change. You've seen the difference. I know that long term, it's gonna fucking pan out. But maybe that's a lie I keep telling myself, I guess what I'm afraid of is making the work that I'm super, super proud of, that's the best work that I've ever done, that's awesome, that's amazing, and, kick-ass, and it's just really awesome, but then no one sees it. And then, and so then I'm spending all this time and all these resources and all this energy, creating something that no one sees. And it's not that I need people to see it, and not that it's not that. It's more of, it would suck, I guess, if the work that I'm not as proud of is my legacy, right? If that's what I end with, that's what I leave with. I am doing a lot of what I'm doing now as a response to my core belief that people are going to be moving towards erasure, right? And then also my core belief that we don't have to be there. I'm trying to create content that inspires empathy. I'm trying to create content that inspires understanding. Because I think that when the shit hits the fan, this is where we start getting the conspiracy territory field. When the shit hits the fan, we need to all be able to work together. We need to all be able to fucking, go to the fucking post-apocalyptic shelter and have resources and understandings of each other. We need or organizing, right, to be intersectional, okay? We need it to be free of transphobia, of misogyny, of all these other things. We need it to be free of that. We need it to, because that's the only way I believe that we will, as a species, survive. And I know that I'm sounding really crazy right now, but this is what's going on in my mind when I'm making my content. Because I keep seeing this push to dehumanize each other. I keep seeing this push for us to stop being as empathetic towards each other as we are. And I don't think that is going to end well. So I want us to be able, I'm doing this interview series so that people can be privy to conversations with different types of people, right? So they can maybe come away with it with a little bit of understanding and a little bit of empathy. You might not agree, you might not co-sign everything, but you'll say, you know what, fuck, I was really ignorant. in my reading of these people. Now I get it more. And you know what? That's what I've come away with. I've come away with, oh my God, I thought that I understood this. I thought that I knew this, but I didn't. And now I do. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna keep sewing, and then, you know, maybe I'll do some work today. I'm gonna fucking do something with my fucking hair. I have a date tomorrow. And I have a date tomorrow and I have a date Sunday. And I want to film. I haven't filmed anything. I really do need to film stuff. I have this script for my Black History Month video that I did film. I did do that, but then the fucking audio was all messed up, and so we have to redo it all over again. But yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm glad that my phone didn't die in the time of me making this. So thank you for watching this. Let me know your thoughts. I really do enjoy the comments that happen, and I appreciate that I'm able to be, you know, as transparent and open with my Patreon family, because you guys really do give me a lot of good advice and just, you know, perspective and things. And I'm thankful that you let me vent and express myself. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys.